Welcome in, friends, to another episode on Rivers Flow. I'm your host, River. We have a beautiful sunny day today outside my window, and yes, the tree is blooming. Buds, new life. Today's episode, we're going back a little bit. Back to early adolescence. This episode is entitled The Liar and the 14-Year-Old Whore. Sit back, grab a drink. Let's get into it. Early adolescence left a wrench in my heart and a stain on my soul. It was a time to internalize and recognize the darkness of the human condition. The experiences from my childhood would reveal themselves woven into the tapestry that is me. Lacking a solid foundation for dealing with emotional disturbances, I was set to ride the roller coaster ahead of me. At 14, I was given an ultimatum. Follow the rigid house rules, or go live with your sorry excuse of a mother. Why though? What happened? In an act of natural 14-year-old rebellion, I decided to sneak a boy into my room. This one night, I set out a ladder that he would use to climb onto the roof and into the window of my second floor bedroom. I remember trying to be stealthy quiet that night. We attempted to have sex for the first time. I don't think we were successful at the penetration portion of the experience. Not much to tell here. This part of my story isn't really about that anyway. This is about what happened the next day. The following day, a neighbor revealed to my parents that they had seen someone on the roof. Naturally, I was confronted. I admitted what had happened that night before. But not only that, I also released my secret to my family. a secret I held on to for about 2 years. Up until this point, I had kept quiet about being touched inappropriately by my step-grandfather. So, this was a cry for help. This little act of rebellion was a cry out. This secret made me so sick that those years, 12 to 14, are mostly stricken from my memory. My half-brother was born when I was 12. I had dissociated from my living reality so much that I have few memories of that time. This night would mark a great scarring that I would not face until 20 years later. I was called a liar and a whore. My stepmother and I watched my father lying on the couch as she tore my clothes. Very Cinderella. The echoes of his words still haunt me. It's his word against yours, is what my father said, calmly and matter of fact. Naturally, I would experience rejection, abandonment, and probably many other things I could not yet articulate. I did choose to leave immediately after having my shirt gripped and torn by my stepmother. I was now the liar and the 14-year-old whore. In the shock of the situation, it felt like a freedom of sorts had been granted. I'm just gonna take a sip of my water. Oh, what did this freedom cost? I was losing all sense of what love, family, and self-respect meant. The rejection trauma was ignited that evening. The abandonment fears grew more vicious than ever. The ability to trust loved ones was set on fire, and my voice was ripped out of me. I became so small. I just wanted to disappear. Because the people who were supposed to guard me, nurture me, defend me, keep me safe, I decided they were not up to the task. My troubles were too big for them to contain. Despite this, it was okay all the way until it wasn't. My mother came to get me. I told her what had happened, and we drove the hour and a half back to her apartment in Toronto. My mother and I always had an unspoken bond. Despite much distance between us over the years, I always felt unconditional love. It just was. Without any words needed. Within a week, I had a room set up next to the kitchen, a section of the living room carved out just for me. I started a new high school, made some friends, and was mostly free to do as I pleased. Here, I had no accountability to anyone. I got a job at McDonald's and became as independent as I could be by 15. A year came and went. During this time, I was sexually active, on birth control, and having an abundance of unprotected sex for someone that age. This, though, was not without consequence. Life had already begun at this time, teaching me about life-lasting consequences. One day I walked out of the doctor's office with a diagnosis of a non-curable sexually transmitted condition that I would carry with me forever. It would take me almost 20 years to look at the shame I had associated with this experience. 20 years to find some freedom from its grip on my sense of self, my worthiness, and my ability to love myself. It was as if life had dealt me a shame layer cake. Shame on top of shame, on top of more shame still. The icing was yet to come, but let's save all that for another episode. For the next 20 years, part of me believed I had every right to blame my parents for the way life was. And so I drank. I rarely spoke about the night of the ultimatum, except if I was in an overly emotional, drunken state, or during one of my attempts at reconnection with my father, where the topic would inevitably come up in alcohol-induced rage, and the attempt to reconnect would crash. I didn't have the emotional intelligence to communicate effectively, and they did not have the desire nor ability to accept the truths being addressed. It became a cycle of repetitive rage and dismissal. Eventually, I began to wonder if I had made it all up. My truth was continuously denied and rejected. I started to really feel crazy. But I started making small changes with the hopes of finding some peace and belonging. The attempts weren't without fault. I began reaching out to family members for connection and attending some family functions to feel a little less lost, a little less isolated, a little less forgotten. Of course, I was using these outings as an excuse to drink. This worked for a while. I was even given a gift through this process. I was taken aside at a family birthday by by one of my cousins. She asked me if I remembered telling her about my step-grandfather and what had happened. I replied that I did not remember telling her this. She proceeded to offer help if I ever needed any. I always knew you were special, is how she ended that conversation. This was all a blessing because it confirmed that I wasn't imagining it all. I finally had some proof separate from my own word. There was someone else who knew all along as well. This was a huge weight lifted from me. I was so thankful for this information because now I could try to find some peace with it all. Over the course of several months, I began telling more family members. I was tired of living alone and feeling like no one knew why my parents and I had so much struggle with each other. I was tired of being the problem child and my parents looking innocent. It was finally out in the open. I had some form of vengeance served. I had regained a little bit of control of my story. I could finally own the experience and begin to learn how to rewrite my story. For me, for healing, for transformation, for growth, for movement, for release. So it could no longer have such a hold on me. But in this time, I was mean, forthright, brutally opinionated, aggressive, angry, and full of hate about it. And that was okay. It had to be that way. To grieve, to crawl through the mud of it. I continued to drink, to find the courage to say what I had to say, to who I wanted to say it to. There was no grace or compassion at that time. This approach worked for a time until it didn't anymore. Until it was time to let it go. Letting go meant so many things. I had to let go of the idea that I needed my father in my life. I had to let go of the idea that an apology would help. I had to let go of the idea that I was still a victim. Speaking this out loud, I can feel still emotion coming up. My hands are also tingling. And I can feel tears wanting to still come to the surface. I needed to learn that my parents did the best they could at that time. And it was enough. And it was okay. And I didn't have to like it. But I had to accept it as it is. And I had to find love for them despite their shortcomings. And I had to accept that I may only be able to ever love them from a distance. And that this is okay too. It doesn't make me less than. I had to learn that I could choose my family moving forward. And that yes, it would be hard. And if it's not hard for at least a time, it's probably not worth doing. I'm River, here and now. Thank you for being with me in this episode. I look forward to sharing this space with you in the next episode. May our hearts be open and our souls free. Enjoy the rest of your day.